So, good morning, everyone. I'm Alexis. So, I'm Alexis. So, I'm a third-year MPhil student who study physics with astrophysics. So, currently, I'm working on my master project as well. So, I'm working on direct imaging of exoplanet with Professor Sasha Hinckley. So, direct imaging is actually a thing. So, it's going to be in place for the next 20 years. So, we're expecting a bright future for direct imaging. Let me point it out. So, I'm here to talk about the basics of astrophotography. So I'm actually from Hong Kong. So I like the night sky here in UK, just because you can't find anywhere else which have worse condition than Hong Kong, because we have really serious light pollution. So just to let you know how serious the light pollution is in Hong Kong, like the rural area in Hong Kong, the night sky is like maybe the city center in Exeter. So you can imagine how bad that is. So. But even so, we have loads of astronomy lovers in Hong Kong trying to take pictures of the deep sky object when we have loads of brilliant astrophotographers in Hong Kong. So what I think is, like, night sky is what everyone has in common. So perhaps maybe sometimes when we walk out the door and then we were like, let us look at the night sky. We try to identify, like, what are those stars? But sometimes we just look at the pattern and we think, but I actually don't know what are these stars. Is it only the professionals or like people who study astrophysics, like got a PhD in it, would be able to identify those patterns or like to do astrophotography? The answer is no, because what astronomy is something like this. It's just me. So. Just to give you a brief overview of like what astrophysicists actually do. So maybe most of the people thinking like, we've been looking at the night sky, but what we're actually doing is coding. But we're not actually doing stargazing. So if you got a PhD in astronomy or astrophysics, it won't guarantee that you will be able to do astrophotography or do stargazings. So we have seen loads of beautiful pictures, like on the social media, like this one, taken by the Hubble Space Telescope, like the Crab Nebula, Whirlwind Galaxy, and also the M57, so it's the Ring Nebula. We have been always exposed to these beautiful pictures, and we may think that only the professionals will be able to take that. And these objects are the deep sky object, because in order to take this to do this kind of astrophotography, it requires some knowledge of how to use equipment and then how to locate the nebulas. So I'm not going to cover these kind of astrophotography here today, but I'm going to talk more about the wide field and also the lunar astrophotography. So I hope everyone, when they walk out of this lecture theater today, you will be able to get started with it. So let me define what's astrophotography first. So astrophotography is actually a special kind of photography which take pictures of the night sky, or just to take pictures of some celestial events, objects. So there are like major three themes of astrophotography. We have the wide field one. So the wide field one is genuinely like just a wide field. Maybe, for example, landscape with the Milky Way, with the star background. It's suitable for beginners because we just need a camera and a tripod to do so. And the next one is lunar, so literally means the moon. So, for example, we can take pictures of the moon, identifying the craters and the Maria on there, or sometimes when we have some special event like the total lunar eclipse we had this year, we can take pictures of it. We only need a camera and tripod to do it as well. So the last bit is the deep sky object that I have shown you guys before. So it's suitable for advanced amateur because you need to know how to use those equipment. You need to know how to locate the star. You need to know how to read sky map. So I'm not going to cover it in details in here. Mentioned. What do you need? You need a camera. But this kind of camera is actually I would say, is kind of like professional camera. So you can actually do it with like a normal digital camera as well, because now the digital camera is so good that it will allow you to do astrophotography. Because as long as you have a long exposure mode on the digital camera, you can do it. And then you need a tripod for stabilizing your camera, which is because you want to do long exposure. You're not going to hold your camera for 30 seconds because you can't do it. So even with a smartphone, so this picture is taken by my friend, like Vincent, back in Hong Kong. So he went to Bolivia. Now, if you have a reasonably good smartphone and also with the long exposure mode on it, you will be able to take pictures of Milky Way as well. So if you have your smartphone, why not after this talk or when you have a when you have the lunch break, check your phone whether you're going to have a long exposure mode or not, and try to see if you're going to be able to take a picture of Milky Way as well. So there are several targets for us to do for a wide-field astrophotography. We have celestial events like Meteor Shower, and then we can take Milky Ways, and we can have star trails as well. Right. So here I'm just gonna run through some of the basic settings of doing these kind of photography. So as long as now I'm here using a Canon camera. So if you're a Nikon user, so just maybe you have to find your way out. But as long as you have the manual mode for your camera, you say on, and then you need to adjust the focus, the focus mode on your lenses from autofocus to manual focus. It's just because if you don't have the range of focus on your lenses, it would be much easier for you to do it. And sometimes the range of focus on your lenses is not accurate as well. So manual focus is the best when you try to take wide field pictures like Milky Way and things like that. So you want to set, this is a setting of the camera, and then you want to keep your setting maximum 30 seconds. And later I will show you what will happen if you use 30 seconds of exposure. So you want to have maybe ranging from 20 to 25 if you want to have a decent exposure of your picture. So you will maximize the front ground and also the background. But the background means the stars. And yeah, with 20 of normally if the background is dark enough, so with 20 or 30 with 20 to 25 seconds, you will be able to see the Milky Way in your picture. And you want to also adjust the ISO, so minimum maybe 1600, but you can adjust it for a bit more higher if you have a really good camera. So yeah, the next thing is you want to know what's the drive mode. The reason why we need to use the drive mode is just that when you try to press the camera, it will introduce the vibration to the camera, which will introduce a vibration pattern into your pictures if you're gonna take pictures of stars, because the camera will be vibrating, right? So it's not stabilizing. So it will create a wobbly pattern for your stars. So in order to calm the camera down before taking the image, you'd like to turn the self timer on, ideally 10 seconds, or even better if you have the remote shutter release, those connected to the camera, or a wireless remote shutter release. It would be the best because you're not touching the camera at all. Right, yeah, this is the kind of the remote shutter release I talked about. So this one is directly connected to camera. It's good, but you can get a better one with the Bluetooth or wireless one, as long as you have the receiver. So, how does it actually work? So this is this is an example of Milky Way taken in the Dartmoor National Park when I went camping last year. So here you can see the exposure time was like around like 20 seconds. So you can see, yeah, the stars is still being like a kind of like a point source there. However, when you see the next picture, this one was taken a few years ago with 30 seconds of exposure. You can see like if you increase the exposure time to 30 seconds or even more, the star is actually tracing out a line. So it become like it's not a point source anymore. It's like more or less like a star trail. So you want to keep your exposure time at the minimum point, like, not at the minimum, but like ranging from 20 to 30, in order to maximize the light you get from the night sky from the Milky Way. But this Milky Way is a summer one. But what I mean by summer one, because actually, we can think of like if we think of the Earth as a fixed point, and then we have a really big sphere, like infinitely big sphere surrounding the Earth. We call it the celestial sphere. So if you imagine that, like celestial sphere is rotating, and then it's like we are actually facing different part of the night sky. So you can't see the summer night sky when you're in the winter, just because the summer night sky, they will actually be up during the daytime, so you can't really see them. So this is facing the south of the horizon, with the Scorpion and Sagittarius. So these are the autumn and the autumn and the winter Milky Way. So if you like, most of the astrophotographers, they're more interested in the summer Milky Way, just because we are facing at the center of the Milky Way. We have much more colors, much more vibrant features to look at. So yeah. So we can notice a difference. So this is the edge of the Milky Way. You're looking away from the center. And I don't know if you can see it from here. Yep. M31 should be right above there, but it's not like showing up in here. Yeah, the next thing is the star trails. So what is actually star trails? So actually they are moving. So when they're moving and your camera stay in place, it will create some sort of lines. It will create tracks. So we call it star trails. We can either do it, so basically it's with the same setting that we took pictures of Milky Way, but we stack the image up together. So I will explain what does it mean by stacking the image up together later. But what you actually have is either you can stack the image up to become a static picture, like this, having a star trails, but for the minimum time creating star trails like this is like 15, 20 minutes or even more. If you want to create a whole arc or the whole circle, something you may have came across online. Or you can actually have a time-lapse video. Yeah. So if you want to create a time-lapse video, maybe the frame rate may be about like 20, like maybe about 20 frames per second. So you need to know you need to decide how many frames you want, and then how long your time-lapse has to be in order to decide like how many images you should take. The next thing about the wide-field astrophotography we would like to look at is the meteor shower. Meteor shower is basically like a celestial event happen quite frequent every year, but there are 3 major events at a year that every people should go and look at, just because those are the most significant one. I will talk about it later. So basically, you will have shooting stars. So shooting stars originated from a part of the night sky. So it's the meteor. So that's why it's called the meteor shower. So this one is taken by the European Southern Observatory. like unfortunately, myself tried to take it, but it's just because every time when I go to the Meteor Shower event, it's just cloudy or like raining, you know, the weather. So I won't be able to take beautiful images like this. Otherwise, Otherwise, it would be like maybe several shooting stars originated from the same part of night sky, and then you will be able to trace back to the point of the origin. Cool. So the next part is the lunar astrophotography. I've mentioned like total lunar eclipse, the phase of the moon, Maria and craters. Yeah, because moon changes its phase kind of every day. It would be cool if we can make some GIF like this, because effectively we can see the size is changing and then the moon is wobbling as well. And this is the image of the total lunar eclipse taken 2015. So actually, it would be a good practice just because compared to the solar eclipse, because lunar eclipse, you have much longer time, like several hours, compared to the solar eclipse, you only have like several minutes. And then meanwhile, total lunar eclipse is a great time for practicing the skills just because, yeah, got several hours, so you got much more time for adjusting your setting. And then you can like watch it, enjoy it while taking pictures. Yeah. So these kind of these are the these kind of astrophotography. You need a longer focal length, so like maybe 300 or 500 millimeters. So this one was taken by my telescope back in 2014. So you need to do some plannings in order to do astrophotography because you want to know whether the moon is going to be there. If you want to take pictures of wide field or Milky Way, you don't want the moon to be like up in the sky, like really bright light bulb, and then radiating light and blocking all the features of the, blocking all the dim features of the Milky Way. And then you want to know the position of the Milky Way, the date, timing of the celestial event as well. So Tellurium is a free open source software that everyone can use to find to know the night sky. So these are the one from last year. So you can know at exactly what time and what place, if the moon is going to be up there, and then what kind of objects is available. Another app is like Google Sky Map. You can have it on your phone, and then you can actually, if you have calibrated the GPS and the compass, and then you can directly point your phone out and then find the object. Remember, always take your image in RAW, because if you're taking JPEG, you won't be able to process it, because JPEG will fix like the dynamic range for processing. So remember, always RAW. So here is some software that people will use for image processing. These two are the free open source software, and this one everyone will be familiar with is the Photoshop. So this one more or less for videos, and this one is for like the images, static images. So here is example how to do it. It's like importing all this image in there, selecting light frames, and how to adjust it. Yeah, the major celestial events visible in UK. Quadrantis, it happens every year, early January. Perseus, by mid-August, peak at 13th of August this year. And Geminids, mid-December, peak at 14th and peak around 14th or 15th of December this year. Unfortunately, if we want to practice, like apply the skills we've learned today on the total lunar eclipse, we have to wait for the next one, which is 2020, which is in 3 years' time. And again, in morning, so we have to get up early in the morning in order to witness this event. Do's and don'ts for stargazing and astrophotography: take away your rubbish and then use red torch if needed, and keep it at the waist height because you don't want to like directly shine the light on someone's camera when someone's trying to do astrophotography and ruin their image. And be considerate, bring enough food, water, stay warm. Remember, battery, because you don't want to be in the middle of nowhere and running out of battery and then staying there, not being able to take pictures of beautiful night sky. Don't Yeah, don't use white torch. Don't directly shine someone or at the camera. And always remember, don't use laser pointer pointing to the plane or the sky when someone is trying to take the images, because you don't want to like disturb the pilots when they're flying, and also you don't want to ruin someone's images. So yeah, equipment for deep sky astrophotography: equatorial mount, telescope. That's what you need, and some knowledge. So this is the M42, the Orion Nebula that I have tried to take with myself. So do you guys have any questions related to stargazing or astrophotography, or like general questions?
Yep, thanks Alexis for talking on astrophotography.